Hey friends, this is Dolany TV. Glad to have you aboard this afternoon, this evening, as we get geared up for obviously the Edmonton Oilers' biggest move of the day, biggest move in a little while, activating Dylan Holloway off of the LTIR and subsequently loaning him to the Bakersfield Condors to work on a new development path for a core young rookie on this Edmonton Oilers squad. Friends, I'm Tyson, this is Dolany TV. Before we get too into this, I just got to remember to ask you, if you are new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button simply because, well, we're closing in on 15,000 subscribers. You've heard the pitch before, that much I'm sure. Either way, friends, what we know about Dylan Holloway is he's been on the LTIR. He was finally activated today. Obviously, Sam Gagner is going to get into the lineup for the game on January 6th, but this is the move from the Edmonton Oilers today. Dylan remains an important part of the Edmonton Oilers' future. Bob Stauffer reads. Wouldn't be surprised to see him get more time or some time at center with the Condors. So basically that is the move that I was explaining a few moments ago in the below part of this portion from the Edmonton Oilers. Dylan Holloway has been activated from long-term injured reserve and loaned to the Bakersfield Condors. So thankfully for the Edmonton Oilers, Dylan Holloway is back and ready to assume game duties. Big thing for him is he's a former centerman, of course, playing at both the junior A and collegiate level with, of course, Wisconsin way back when that's already. But Dylan Holloway will assume duties at center for the Condors throughout the next few games. I believe the weekend is in San Diego, according to Ryan Holt, and is ready to be an impact player again at the AHL level and hopefully come up and shore up the bottom six, it would appear. Now, obviously, this all comes with an idea of how does this shake out. Well, no, that's the wrong graphic. That's the wrong graphic. That's embarrassing. Well, we will not redo the video. We'll just instead transition graphics here to the wing centers for the Edmonton Oilers, which you know very well of. Where we're at, wing centers, Ryan Janmark and Gagner. So you got to keep in mind there, friends, Ryan Janmark and Gagner are all guys who throughout their career, throughout their Oilers playing careers, have taken a lot of draws or draws in bunches, and then as well have played substantially on the wing. And I think that too is the plan here with Dylan Holloway, especially for an Oilers team that may not be able to add maybe that huge piece at the trade deadline up front that we'd like to, because we have to address the goaltending and defense first. Well, you know what? End of the day, if you have some versatility in your bottom six and you have some different looks, that necessarily isn't the worst thing either. You might lack size, you might lack physicality, but if you can throw 1,000,001 different combos in the bottom six that are productive and effective against any other team, you become a much harder, much more difficult team to match up against in the playoffs. And I like where the Oilers are going with this. This is a major change in development path for Dylan Holloway. And obviously, I think it's due to one big thing here for the Oilers, and that is Ryan McLeod becoming a very important top six forward here for the Oilers. He's an impactful player up there on the line with Draisaitl and Foegele. I think any of us would say now, if that line continues to produce in the rest of the season and the head coach, whoever he is at the time, by the time we get into the playoffs here, if that is indeed our fate, decides to keep the second line together and not bust it up, well, guess what? You're probably going to have some pretty good success in the playoffs too, based on how that line looks and works in the regular season at current. So again, that's the hope. Of course, plenty of time for Ryan McLeod or Warren Foegele to fall off, but both players having fantastic revitalizations to their season over the past 3 weeks here, and that is much due to Chris Knobloch taking a chance, seeing what he had on that formation, and it's worked out well. But that leaves a hole at third line center, not necessarily in terms of man in position, because Derek Ryan, well suited to be there, potentially 1 or 2 years older than he should be to be in that situation for the Oilers. Obviously, a right-hand shot, you love that, but biggest thing is he's a smaller guy, he's a little bit older, foot speed's starting to decline a bit, and end of the day, you'd like a little bit more production. Hence, if you have some time, you bring in Dylan Holloway as soon as you acclimate him to taking draws. Now, number one, Holloway has to be healthy and continue. So worst case scenario, he gets injured again at Bakersfield, you're good. But first, if he survives that, then you start getting him draws, then you start getting him the defensive responsibilities, and by sometime end of this month, you could possibly see Dylan Holloway up here if he is officially going to transition to a more full-time center role at the NHL level. I assume the Oilers would probably give him some time to run with, because as well, it would not be a bad thing to give our friends in Bakersfield some good talent on that team. That, top-end talent, I guess you could say. Dylan Holloway is definitely too good to be in the AHL right now. Just hasn't found his step at the NHL level, but maybe a reverse of Ryan McLeod, who needed to go to wing to be productive. Maybe Dylan Holloway needs to go to center to be productive at the NHL level. Hey, your guess is as good as mine. Everything kind of rumbles on out there in the NHL sometimes, and this could be one of those moves that shakes out pretty well for the Edmonton Oilers. So I look forward to seeing what that has in store for the Edmonton Oilers. But the big thing right now is, like I said, it's a major developmental change in the Oilers system. You're thinking about developing guys along the way, right? Raphael Lavoie is going to be this big, rugged winger for us, hopefully, down the line. Of course, on the left wing, we have a few guys coming up. Carter Savoy, Ty Tullio, potentially, I believe, is also a left winger. Matvei Petrov's in the system, but right now when it comes to finding that impact piece in the bottom six, that is, and the only possibility you have is, of course, Dylan Holloway in terms of a guy who's acclimated to the NHL game, and now you're just asking him to assume a more difficult, a more taxing, I guess you could say, role out there for the Oilers, especially when it comes down to, I guess, you're flipping Holloway for Hamblin at that sense, and possibly flipping Hamlin to the wing, or else axing Hamlin out of the lineup. Your guess is as good as mine, but definitely not no fault of James Hamlin's here at all. So, like I said, a major developmental change here for the Oilers, one that I very much so like, because again, we saw a good flip there from McLeod from center, where he's been at most of his time as an Edmonton Oiler, if not the majority, 99-80% kind of deal. Now he's on the wing with Draisaitl producing excellent results, kind of as we saw with Nugent Hopkins there a couple years back, when he was thrown on the line with Nugent Hopkins, McDavid, and Ty Ratty, right? We go all the way back there. That was our top line at one point, and it was producing really well at the end of 17-18, but that's again because no team took the Oilers seriously at the end of 17-18, and we were able to rack up some greasy points, but it didn't pan out so well at the next step of 18-19. But when you come down and break it all down, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has been an elite winger in terms of production since then, and at center he can still give you serviceable moments, whereas I think that's where you're going to get out of Ryan McLeod, and hopefully this developmental shift for the Edmonton Oilers with Dylan Holloway takes him from being a meandering kind of, he fills minutes on the wing, to a more impactful, steady Eddie, point producing, and of course effective third line center for the Edmonton Oilers. Friends, I'm Tyson, this is Dolany TV. Thank you so much for being aboard this evening. Really do appreciate you hanging out with me as always. And oh, did we forget to mention this? Yeah, I think we did. I am up on out of here.